Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to England once again, and we're going to have a look at yet another of the beers that was very kindly sent to me by my good friend Adam over at Merseybeers. So do make sure you go and check out his channel. The link is in the video description below. Adam does a lot of different kind of beer themed live streams. He's just had his internet upgraded finally, so he is going to be able to expand his channel a lot more over the next little while, and it's going to be really nice to contribute to that actually, because he does have some very good ideas for it actually, so you can expect some really good things from him. But he very kindly sent me a box of 18 or so different English beers. There was one or two Welsh things in there as well, and yeah, I've been enjoying reviewing them so far, and I'm curious to see what the other ones have in store, particularly the ones from his local Liverpool breweries actually, so keep your eyes peeled for those. For this review though, we are going to have a look at a very hyped English brewery actually, and they have featured on the channel twice before, but as part of collaboration reviews, so this is my first dedicated review to this brewery actually, and it's one of their very well respected beers actually. For this one then, we are going to go to Gloucestershire, to Cheltenham to be specific, about halfway between Birmingham to the north and Bristol to the south, and we're having a look at a beer from Deya Brewing Company. This one is called Invoice Me for the Microphone. It comes in at 6.5% ABV, and it is a New England hazy IPA, however you want to call it, and this one is one of their signature beers from what I understand. So oddly enough, you know, Adam sent me this beer, but then I noticed that it was actually going to be released by Systembolaget, and this was after the box had arrived, of course. And it was funny because Adam was telling me that this was very nearly another beer actually. He was going to send me something from Deya, and he said that he very nearly sent me another one actually, and then I sent him the screenshot of the Systembolaget thing the other day actually. So yeah, it was quite strange that actually. So this video will actually publish on the day that this beer releases from Systembolaget. So yeah, do check out this one if you get the chance actually. A very hyped English brewery, like I say. So this one will publish for you on the 22nd of September 2020. So yeah, curious, but yeah, just kind of strange, Murphy's Law, you know, just whatever can happen will happen. So yeah, curious to see what this one has in store for us, and very nice to do my first dedicated review today as well, so a huge thank you to Adam for making this review possible. So yeah, as always with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done involving Deya Brewing before. Hopefully I can do some more dedicated reviews to these guys in the near future. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to fairly regularly over the next wee while, and you know, just whenever I can beyond that. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Deya Brewing Company then, on to my brewery notes. So Deya Brewing, as I've told you already, are based in Cheltenham in Gloucestershire, about halfway between Birmingham to the north and Bristol to the south, and the company was founded back in 2015 by Theo Frayne. So he was introduced to craft beer by his dad, who brought back some beers from America, and after, you know, trying these beers and, you know, getting the whole the awareness of different beer styles and things up, he decided that he wanted to brew for himself. So he got some work experience at Threakston's Brewery, a very well respected traditional English brewery actually, before he enrolled at Heriot Watt Brewing in Edinburgh. Quite a very well, you know, a very well respected brewing and distilling program these days actually. But after this he worked for a while at 5 Points Brewing in Hackney in London. Then he went over to work at Odell's Brewing in Colorado, and he wanted to start up his own brewery, but initially he started it up and he was gypsy brewing at a number of breweries in the Cheltenham area. But he later bought a brew kit from Harbour Brewing Company down in Cornwall, and then he secured a premises which he opened up in 2016. Over the years they've continually expanded their capacity, and by 2019 they'd scaled up to around 3,500 hectolitres of beer per year. They're currently equipped with a 34 BBL brewing system, and they've recently rented out the 2 units next to their current premises, and they're planning to expand up to 30,000 1,000 hectolitres over the next 10 years. They've also got a large tap room at the moment, which has really helped them kind of drive their growth over the last few years as well. I think it's about 2,000 square feet or square metres or something like that. I can't remember exactly what unit they used. Britain is a bit weird like that, you know, they still use feet for some things and metres for the other. It's a bit annoying, to be honest with you. I'd rather we just used the metric system. But the brewery itself is named after a village in Mallorca, and as of September 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced over 90 different types of beer, and the current head brewer is Gareth Moore. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Deya Brewing for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. They do have quite a detailed history on it these days, year by year, when they added canning lines and other sorts of things. But yeah, a very interesting brewery, these guys, actually, and you know, very, very well respected in England when it comes to the New England hazy IPAs. I mean, it's these guys, you know, you've got these guys, you have Verdant, you've got Wylam, Cloudwater, Track, you know, there's a lot of really well respected breweries in England these days, Northern Monk as well, North Brewing. These guys are all the ones that are doing all the big kind of hazy New England IPAs. But Deya, very, very well respected, but you know, one of the breweries that I just never managed to get around to doing a dedicated review for. I don't think the Hop Knocker in Durham, where I used to get all the English beers from, I don't think they actually had Deya cans when I was there. They got them in just after I left, actually. So yeah, definitely cool to be able to do my first dedicated review to these guys. So again, a massive thank you to Adam for making this review possible. But as I say, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. So this one is a half-litre can, 500 millilitres, which is good. I think they're one of the few breweries in England that actually use the half-litres, but the English beer tubers, I'm sure, will be able to correct me on that if I am wrong. But most of the beers from that I've had from the big IPA breweries over there have been 440s. But yeah, the artwork on this looks pretty cool. It looks like, you know, he's doing a little bit of a mic drop, actually. So yeah, pretty cool artwork on this one, I have to say. As you can see, you've got the little, I like that, the little hop flower in the microphone there. But yeah, it says on the back here, a soft, juicy IPA with plenty citron mosaic. Leave it refrigerated to preserve the hop profile intended. The hops fade quickly. Drink now. This beer is vegan friendly. So yeah, pretty cool actually. So drink fresh, keep cold, and please recycle. And this one has oats, malted barley, oats, hops, and yeast. So no. It does say it contains wheat actually on the Swedish things. I just noticed there actually. That's the thing. This beer did come from England, by the way, but I noticed that on the side there it does actually have the Swedish. So maybe this is part of the same batch that was being sent over to Sweden for Systembolaget. So quite ironic that. As I say, Adam sends me this one and then I didn't even know that Systembolaget were going to release it. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we will get on with the tasting then. Very, very curious to see what this has in store for us. So yeah, 6.5% New England IPA, citron mosaic. Let's get it out and into the glass. So there we go. It does feel quite heavy, this can actually. It's a bit strange having the half-litre. You wouldn't think, you know, 60 millilitres can make much difference, but the can, you know, it does feel, it does actually just feel quite a bit bigger. Maybe just kind of what you're used to. But yeah, 6.5% New England IPA, this one. Let's see how we got on. I can tell you straight away as you pour this, it smells very, very nice. So yeah, as you can see with this one, this is poured a lovely kind of bright yellow colour. I would describe this one, I always compare the New England IPAs to different fruit juices. And this one to me looks very much like a kind of mango juice, this one. It's got that kind of rich yellow colour to it. I don't think it's quite pale enough to be a pineapple juice. Definitely more of a kind of nice mango juice, this one for me. You can see when the beer poured, it had somewhere between a third and a half finger of a frothy, I would say perfect white head on this one. Wouldn't have a problem with saying perfect white on this one. But yeah, one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there. But I mean, overall, it does look pretty nice actually. I like how this one, I do like how this one goes together. In terms of haziness, you know, for a 6.5%, it is kind of roughly what you'd expect. It's not the gloopiest and soupiest of New Englands that I've come across at 6.5%, but yeah, it's kind of up there around the same level that you would expect from the Steepberriots, the OOs, the Brewskis and things like that. So yeah, nice looking beer, this one. Nothing particularly surprising about this beer in terms of its appearance. So yeah, let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. I'm curious to see what this one has in store for us. Yeah, it's a very kind of classic, nostalgic smelling IPA, this one. I mean, we know Citra and Mosaic quite well. Citra has that lovely kind of mango-y quality with the kind of complexities, you know, sometimes the lemon lime, sometimes a bit of gooseberry and stuff. Yeah, the Mosaic's coming out really nicely as well. You've got that bit of just oily tangerine orange coming out of this beer, which is lovely. So yeah, I do like how this one, I do like how all of this goes together. Lovely smelling beer. So yeah, for me, on the malty side of things, this one actually comes across as a bit more oaty. I really think this one comes across as a bit more oaty, but in fairness, you do get that lovely kind of smooth white bready base to the beer. I think the wheat is kind of smoothing it out. The wheat for me actually comes across as quite smooth in this one. Different varieties of wheat and things can of course come across as being a little bit more bitey, a little bit more pungent almost in the aroma, but for me the malt base in this comes across as being very, very smooth, and I think the oats as a result of that sort of stand out a little bit more. So yeah, the wheaty character in this one towards the back of the nose, it is very, very smooth. You do get the kind of more crisp white bready qualities underneath, and you get that nice kind of just that oaty kind of creaminess to the beer. I don't detect I don't really get any kind of biscuity notes out of this one, and in fact the more that you smell this beer, the more sort of, it almost has a little bit of a slightly yogurty type aroma to it, which is quite interesting. I have to admit, it is something my last flatmate I had was actually vegetarian, kind of bordering on vegan, and he used to like oat milk, and he let me try it, and I have to admit I really like it actually. I do like oat milk, it's very nice, and the aroma that you get out of the malt base on this one, it really reminds me of the oat milk that he had. This to me is a very oaty leaning New England actually, but you do get the wheat, as I say, towards the back of the nose. I don't really get much kind of sweetness out of this one, but there is almost, the more that I smell this beer and when you take the aroma in a little bit more deeply, I think this one just has a little bit of a, it has a little bit of an almost kind of yogurty vibe to it, which is quite interesting. I didn't expect that from it. It's just the level of creaminess I think that the beer has. But yeah, it's really nice. It doesn't, this one didn't have lactose in it, did it? No, it didn't. No lactose in this one. Yeah. So remember, one of my favourite IPAs that I ever had from England was the $10 Shake from Siren. That was a beautiful beer. I don't know if they still do that actually, but that was one of my favourite ones that I ever had from England. But yeah, the aroma from this beer, the malty side of this one, is really very nice. And the more that I smell of it, in fairness, you do actually get the wheat just coming up a little bit more the more that you smell this, but definitely an oaty leaning IPA in my mind. On the hoppy side of things then, it actually comes across as really nice and soft and juicy. You do get a wee touch of the earthiness from the Mosaic at the back of the nose, but yeah, otherwise it's got a lovely blend. There's a good bit of floral character to this one, and I mean, Citra is like usually about 13-14% alpha acid, and you know, Mosaic is the same. You will get a good little bit of floral character out of this one, and you can smell that kind of on the sides of the nose. But there is a bit of a lighter grassy element to the beer as well. I do think this one leans slightly more towards the floral end of the spectrum in fairness. But yeah, definitely the aroma that comes out of this is lovely actually. I like how this one, I really like how it all goes together. Yeah. The Citra comes out really interestingly in this one for me. You do get the juicy mangoes out of it, but I really, I detect there's almost quite a bit of limey character, a good bit of a limey, gooseberry-ish type note coming out of this beer for me. Didn't expect that from it, I have to say. Yeah, the juicy mangoes come out. To me, as I say, I wasn't expecting that sort of oily, limey, gooseberry type thing that you're getting out of this beer. But underneath that, you can get those big, juicy tangerine notes that you expect of the Mosaic. This beer is pretty much a straight shooter. It's definitely not the most complex New England IPA I've come across in terms of aroma, but you don't need it to be complex. You just want it to be be nice, basically. And this one for me, Citron Mosaic, you can't really go wrong with that pairing, definitely not. But for me, if I was blind smelling this, I might wonder if it had a little bit of, you know, Equinaut in it, or yeah, I probably would guess that this had a little bit of Equinaut in it. Just, as I say, there's just a bit of liminess, a bit of a gooseberry and limey note for me. That'll be coming from the Citra, I would think, because Citra can have all these kind of crazy complexities to it. But that's why it works so well as a kind of single hop. But Mosaic for me is always a bit more straight shooting and a bit more tangerine-y rather than anything. So yeah, the aroma out of this beer I think is very, very nice actually. So thumbs up to, definitely a thumbs up to Deya for this one. The aroma of this comes across really nicely. The fruitiness for me, it's got a good balance between being quite juicy on the more tropical side of things, but then it's got a bit of an oily balance to it on the tangerine and slightly limey note actually. I wasn't expecting the lime out of this one, in fairness. So yeah, this one strikes me as if it's going to be quite a nice beer. So quite oaty leaning, good little bit of floral character, but a nice kind of more slightly oily, fruity note for me. So yeah, take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck into it. But we're going to try this one now. This one is the Invoice Me for the microphone, 6.5% New England IPA, hazy IPA, whatever you want to call it, from Deya Brewing Company in Cheltenham, Gloucestershire, in the kind of southwest or Midlands, I don't know, of England. This one. Huge thank you to Adam once again for making this review possible, and yeah, let's get stuck into this one. Sláinte, skål. Oh yeah, that's a very smooth, very... It's got a good balance between being wet and oily, but yeah, that's a very, very smooth New England IPA, this one. To me, it strikes me as very light and drinkable. It does lean, the more, you know, as you progress further into the aftertaste, but the first impressions, it's got a nice kind of light and drinkable quality to it, but it really is almost quite creamy at the same time. I love this, how you go to different breweries and you get different mouthfeels. I mean, some people and some other beer tubers I know might disagree, but I think water plays a huge role in the different beers and things like that. Your water profile can change the flavour of your beer quite a lot actually, and I'd be curious, I mean, I don't know, in that region of England, I mean, it would be, I don't know, in the middle, I would guess that it's not the flattest part of England, right enough, but I would say that it's not the most kind of mountainous part either actually. But yeah, the water in this one strikes me as being almost, it has that kind of really kind of clean and soft vibe about it actually. But yeah, I would say this is a really juicy and quite wet feeling New England IPA in my mind actually. I like how this goes together. This is a ridiculously drinkable beer actually, and Adam was saying to me that when he was going for these kind of breweries, because he said he was going to send me a mix of the, you know, he was going to send me just, you know, some of his favourite things from his local breweries, but he also wanted to send me some of the, you know, the fairly widely distributed beers from some of the better known breweries actually. So I mean, this is one of the ones, as I say, that I think they produce on a slightly bigger volume. They do have one of the pale ales, I forget the name, that is really widely distributed as well. But this is a really good kind of introduction, definitely, to Deya Brewing Company. I do remember the beers involving these guys were, you know, a bit softer in the mouthfeel and things like that actually. I mean, I don't know if they use a little bit of dextrose and dextrin and stuff like that to give you this mouthfeel, but compared to the other English breweries that I remember, this beer definitely feels a bit more, it leans more towards the oaty side of things, and it's definitely a bit kind of wetter, I would say, a bit kind of wetter in its mouthfeel for me. So quite creamy and quite wet in its mouthfeel, but I like that about this beer. But yeah, you always get little nuances like that, and I find it really interesting to go between the different breweries and think about that. But yeah, for me then, this one has quite a... It's just got a really nice vibe to it, this beer. I mean, if you go right across the middle of the palate there, you get that kind of bready base to it. If you go onto the back third of the tongue, you do get a bit more of the wheat, and it does have a bit more bitiness than the aroma would have you believe, but at the same time it really smoothens out the further you go into the aftertaste. So yeah, back third of the tongue, you get the bready base, then you get the slightly bigger wheat on top of that, and then it does have a wee bit of bitiness, as I say. It develops the further you go into the aftertaste. As you move further forward into the kind of middle third of your tongue, you can feel, it just feels a little bit lighter. You've still got that bready base, but then you get more of the oatiness. Actually, it's got a nice kind of just smooth oatiness sitting on top of that. I don't really get. In the middle of the palate, I mean, there's a wee tiny bit of like an almost Werther's Original type sweetness, tiny amount. But yeah, the sweetness in this one is this strikes me as a little bit more old school. This one seems to me like the things that Stigbergets and OO Brewing were producing back in sort of 2015, 2016 sort of time. And of course the Scandinavian IPAs have really evolved to be a bit more. They've got a big chunk of that Werther's Originally oily type brown sugary note to them. This one definitely is a bit more old school in that sense. It's the straight up oats, the straight up wheat. And it's interesting that even in that kind of 5-year period you can really see these beer styles evolving a bit. But it strikes me as a very smooth IPA, this one. So yeah, in the middle of the palate you get that lovely, you do get just a nice kind of smooth oatiness coming out of this beer. I like how that, and the oatiness is the thing that really gives it its sweetness, but as I say, just in the middle of the palate there's a tiny little bit of that almost Werther's Originally type sweetness coming out of this one. So I like how that goes together actually. So yeah, for me, this one, it's really nice like that. It's quite an old school New England IPA for me, and it's nice to have things like this. Like I had the Double Narangi from OO Brewing recently, and that was really nicely done, just more old school in its malt base, none of the kind of Werther's Originally notes that I was talking about. So yeah, lovely. The malt base in this one for me is nice, and it's nice to have just a bit of a change of pace with this actually. So yeah, I think we've said all we need to about the malt base actually, but I would say compared to the aroma, the malt base is a little bit more kind of pungent in its wheaty notes than the aroma would have you believe, and the wheatiness develops as you go further into the aftertaste as well. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, for me, little touch of earthiness there, but very quickly it actually becomes quite floral. This one becomes floral really quite far back on the sides of your tongue actually, and you can feel that just developing as you move, pardon me, further and further forward on the sides of the palate there. You do get a nice kind of note out of this. It's not spicy as such, it's really more aromatic rather than anything else. And I like that about that as well. Round the front curve of the palate, it does have, you can feel it's a bit aromatic underneath, but you do get a little bit of a more grassy kind of quality coming out of the beer as well, which I like. Yeah, it's got a good bit of floral note there, and the floral qualities really linger from this beer as well. And as I say, this is really well done, but it's, as you drink this, it becomes more and more apparent that these guys have a reputation for a reason. So yeah, it's a lovely, just kind of smooth and, as I say, really nice juicy IPA. It gets more and more juicy the more you drink of it, but yeah, around the front of the palate you can feel there is a bit of floral character underneath, and it's almost a bit zesty actually. You do get a bit of zest on that edge of your tongue, and you get the lighter kind of grassy notes there as well. Behind, on the front third of your tongue, you do get that nice oily bubble coming out of the beer. As you go towards the back of that front third of your tongue, there's a wee touch of passion fruit to it, but very quickly it becomes a nice light juicy mango. And then in front of that, you'll get a few of these lighter kind of flavours from it. There's a wee touch of like an apricot note there, maybe a little bit of a pineapple for me. It kind of depends what your malt base is like. Citra can interact with different malt bases really differently. The kind of limey notes that I was picking up from the aroma, it's interesting because they're not really in this. There's a wee touch of lime, but they're not really in it anywhere near as much as I would have thought from the aroma. But yeah, as we go forward on that front third of the palate, you've got a bit of passion fruit there, but very quickly it evolves to be a juicier mango. Then you start to get some apricot-y, pineapple-y notes. Then as you reach almost the front tip of your tongue, you've got a bit of an oily, you do have a little bit of a more oily tangerine type, you do get that more oily tangerine type flavour there from the Mosaic, and that's really interesting. As I say, this beer for me at this point, it's not really, it's one that's very, very well crafted. It's not introducing me to anything new. that I don't know from the style already, but it's bloody well done. And I mean, that's what you want. You know, the New England IPAs, we know this style quite well. It's a little bit more old school for me. It's like going back to the Stigbergs and the OO beers from 2016 or so, but I like it. I really do like this one. So, you know, thumbs up to Deya Brewing for this. It's a very it's just a very, very well crafted beer, and you can't ask for much more than that these days. Sometimes simplicity is better. So it kind of shows you, I think this one really shows you the softer side almost of the Citra hop actually. I think it really highlights some of these kind of Citra notes. So, as I said, on the front edge of the tongue it does have a wee bit of zestiness. You might well get a wee bit of lime out of it, but I think it really shows off the Citra and the Mosaic quite nicely, this one. I do think Citra is a little bit more dominant over Mosaic, in fairness. I would definitely say that about it. But yeah, this is a really nicely done New England IPA, so thumbs up to Deya for this. So yeah, mouthfeel then. As I've kind of said, I think this beer, I think this is fairly mid-bodied, to be honest. I think it's right in the middle of the road. The carbonation for me is very smooth. I'd say that overall the mouthfeel, it really is quite creamy for me, this one. And it's got a good bit of smoothness to it as well. But at the same time, it's one of the wetter feeling New England IPAs that I've come across as well. I don't know what the, you know, water profile, like I said, can be a very interesting aspect of brewing. And I don't know what, you know, Cheltenham's like. Before I did the review I had to look up exactly where it was on the map because I didn't know. I knew where Gloucestershire was, you know, near Bristol. But yeah, I didn't know where exactly Cheltenham was, so I don't know if there's, you know, good hills or whatever there, but the water in this one strikes me as being very, very clean. It has that really kind of clean vibe to it actually, which is quite nice. But yeah, in terms of hoppy bitterness, I think this is your fairly standard 25 or 30 IBUs. It's somewhere around that. It's got a nice kind of softness to it, but the floral character gives the beer a little bit of a kind of zip or a zing, whatever you want to call it. I like that about the beer. So yeah, about 25-30 IBUs to this one. The malt base is really quite smooth, a little bit more bready, one of the more bready leaning New England IPAs. As I said, I would compare this to the things that Stigbergs and OO and stuff were doing back in sort of 2015 or so. But yeah, the fruitiness in this one is really nice and juicy, but at the same time you get that little bit of wetness out of it as well. So yeah, another, you know, just a very, very solid New England IPA, this one. You know, this would be the sort of beer that I would try back in, you know, 2016, 2017, and it would be one of the ones that would be really, you know, kind of mind-blowing at the time. You know, it's a really, really well done beer actually. So it's one of the ones that's almost a bit nostalgic for me when I try it for the first time now. And it's a really nice one like that. It's a very straight shooting beer for me these days actually, and it's one that I like beers like this because it really shows you how the New England IPA style has evolved over the last little while. But yeah, definitely a more oaty leaning and more wet and juicy type New England IPA for me. But yeah, I think that's a good place to kind of sum up the review if you like. So yeah, this one was the Invoice the Microphone, a 6.5% New England IPA from Deya Brewing Company in Cheltenham in Gloucestershire. Kind of, as I say, in the Midlands, southwest of England. Not quite sure how to describe that, but yeah, lovely beer this one, and I hope that you guys buying this one up from Systembolaget enjoy it as well. Thank you again to Adam for making this review possible. As I said, check out the Merseybeers link in the video description below, and I hope you guys enjoyed my take on this beer. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Till the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Deya Brewing Company as well. We will hopefully be able to return to these guys quite soon, and I'm not sure if they do different styles, but I think I would quite like to try one or two more of the IPAs and a few more different styles from them as well. But thanks again for watching. Check out my social media, and I'll catch you guys there. Slanja, Skull, have a go at the Invoice Me for the Microphone IPA from Deya Brewing Company in England. Cheers.